Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to get a little philosophical?
Always.
Today we're diving into something pretty profound, even for us.
Ooh,
Yeah, the nature of reality itself, no big deal.
that's what we do here.
Exactly. We'll be exploring excerpts from The Great Illusion,
I like that title.
right? It's by Grandmaster WaXhira of the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood.
Ah, the Atlantean Brotherhood, always fascinating.
Definitely. So our mission today is to uncover their teachings,
On how we perceive reality.
which they believe might actually be an illusion.
A grand illusion, you could say.
Maybe even the Great Illusion.
Nice. So, what are we waiting for? Let's dive in.
All right, so what if I told you everything we see, hear, and touch is just borrowed?
Borrowed.
Borrowed from somewhere else, something deeper.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Good, because WaXhira starts by talking about this idea of falsehood.
Falsehood.
Yeah, but he's not talking about lying or anything like that.
So what does he mean?
He's talking about the source of something's existence. Like, imagine someone who looks super wealthy.
Right, fancy car, designer clothes, the whole 9 yards.
But what if it's all based on debt?
Ah, a facade. A carefully constructed illusion of wealth.
Exactly, and that's what WaXhira calls falsehood.
It seems real, but it's actually deriving its existence from something else.
Something unsustainable.
Like a house of cards, impressive but fragile.
Right, and this idea of falsehood applies to so many things.
Well, absolutely.
Like social media, think about it.
Chasing likes, validation, that constant need for approval.
You feel successful if your post gets a ton of hearts.
But that feeling is borrowed, dependent on others.
It makes you wonder how much of what we consider success is really just external validation.
A great question. It challenges us to examine where we're seeking our sense of self.
From the outside world rather than from within.
And that leads us to how the Atlantean Brotherhood views our senses.
Our senses, you mean like sight, sound, touch.
Exactly. They shape our entire experience of reality.
But it all feels so real to me.
We'll consider this. What if you suddenly lost your hearing?
I'd be devastated, but what's the point?
The world of sound would literally cease to exist for you.
Okay, I see what you mean.
And someone who is blind wouldn't experience color or shape the same way,
So our senses are kind of like filters.
shaping and limiting our perception of reality.
So we're each experiencing a slightly different version of reality.
Precisely. What we perceive as real is just a small part of what might actually be out there.
Wow, I'm starting to see why it's called the Great Illusion.
Right. But it goes even deeper than our senses.
Oh, there's more.
Definitely. Think about it. Our senses gather information, but what makes sense of it all?
Our brains.
Well, Brotherhood calls it the mind, the part of us that interprets the information.
So, like, if our senses are the camera, our mind is the editor.
A perfect analogy. Piecing together the raw footage, creating a narrative.
But even our minds aren't the ultimate source.
According to WaXhira, no.
Then what is? I'm on the edge of my seat.
He points to something more fundamental. Consciousness.
Consciousness.
The true source. The foundation of all reality.
Hold on, things are about to get really meta.
Buckle up.
What do we even mean by consciousness?
WaXhira describes it as unchanging, the one eternal reality.
Independent of the physical world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything else stems from this source of consciousness.
You mean like our bodies, our thoughts, even the world around us?
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's the light that illuminates it all.
So he's saying that consciousness is the real deal.
The only true reality.
And everything else is just a reflection of that.
You got it.
Wow. So if consciousness is the foundation, what does that say about permanence?
Well, if the physical world is just a wave on the ocean of consciousness.
Maybe nothing is as solid or lasting as it seems.
Exactly. And that's precisely why WaXhira encourages us to live beyond the illusion.
Okay, now I'm really hooked. How do we break free?
We'll dive into that in the next part.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm still processing all that.
It's a lot to take in.
It is.
Heh.
But we ended on this idea of living beyond the illusion, right? We talked about true wealth and success coming from within, connecting with that source consciousness.
Like WaXhira teaches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how do we actually make that shift?
Well, it starts with awareness.
Awareness?
Becoming aware of how much energy we spend on external things.
Like what kind of things?
That new gadget you just have to have. A
Oh,
bigger house.
Oh, yeah. Or the perfect outfit.
All those things we think will make us happy.
We're always searching for something.
But in all the wrong places.
It's like we're looking for ourselves outside of ourselves.
Exactly. And that's part of the illusion.
So what's the alternative?
WaXhira says attachment to material possessions keeps us trapped.
trapped in the illusion.
Yes. Like being so focused on the shadows on the cave wall that you forget there's a whole world of light outside.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it.
Good. So if we let go of that need for external validation and all those possessions,
What are we left with?
that's when we can start to connect with that inner abundance.
That source consciousness.
Exactly. WaXhira talks about shifting our focus from seeking approval from others.
To pursuing inner growth instead.
He encourages us to ask ourselves some important questions.
Like what?
What brings me genuine joy? What are my unique gifts?
And how can I use those gifts to make a positive impact on the world?
Now, that's a definition of success I can get behind.
Me too. It's not about fitting into someone else's mold.
It's about aligning our actions with our true selves.
With our values, our purpose.
And as you cultivate that awareness, that connection to your true nature,
What happens then?
you might be surprised by what you discover.
Tell me more.
WaXhira says that true peace and freedom come when you stop identifying so strongly with the external world
With all the chaos out there,
and the constant chatter of your own thoughts and emotions.
it sounds like a lot of letting go.
It is. It's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Getting closer and closer to the core of who we really are.
Right. But how do we apply that to everyday life?
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
We still have jobs, relationships, all those challenges.
It's easy to get overwhelmed.
Think about how you react when things don't go your way.
I usually get stressed, maybe blame others.
Do you ever feel like a victim?
Sometimes, yeah.
What if you could take a step back instead?
And do what?
Just observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment,
Like a detached observer.
and then look for the lesson, the opportunity for growth.
That's a whole different way of looking at things.
It is. It's a more empowered response.
And it comes from that connection to consciousness.
Exactly. You start to recognize that you are not your thoughts or your emotions.
Oh.
You are the awareness that experiences them.
Okay, that's pretty deep.
And that subtle shift can change everything.
How so?
How you relate to others, how you make decisions,
Hmm.
even how you approach your work,
It can change all that.
and even how you think about your own mortality.
Death. That's a heavy topic.
It is. It's something a lot of people struggle with.
The idea that our physical existence is temporary.
But WaXhira has a different perspective.
What is it?
He teaches that death is not an end, but a transition.
A transition to what?
It's like shedding an old garment
The physical body.
and returning to the source, to consciousness.
So it's not something to be feared.
Not at all. It's a natural part of life.
That's actually a comforting thought.
It is. And it ties back to the illusory nature of the physical world.
So if consciousness is the true reality,
Then death is simply a shift in our state of being.
not an annihilation.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm starting to get this whole consciousness thing, but something's bugging me.
What's that?
If everything is an illusion, how do we explain the consistency of the physical world?
Ah, a classic question.
Gravity works the same way every time. The laws of physics seem pretty reliable.
WaXhira doesn't claim to have all the answers.
But she has some ideas.
He suggests that the consistency we observe might be a reflection of something deeper,
Like what?
the underlying order and harmony of consciousness itself.
I like that. It's like the waves on the ocean, chaotic on the surface.
But underneath,
There's this vast, deep, still ocean.
precisely, the physical world might be ever-changing,
But consciousness is unchanging.
eternal,
That's beautiful. Just like there's this hidden order beneath the surface.
a cosmic dance we're all part of.
Which makes me wonder if we're all expressions of this one consciousness.
What does that mean for our relationships with others?
Exactly.
If you grasp that we're all interconnected at the deepest level, it changes everything.
We're not just separate individuals bumping into each other.
We're threads in the tapestry of life.
It's like that Rumi quote. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop.
Beautiful. We each contain the whole within us.
And if that's true,
Compassion, kindness, understanding become essential.
it's not just about being nice.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness.
That harming another is ultimately harming ourselves.
Because at the level of consciousness, there is no separation.
This is powerful stuff.
It is. It's about bridging the gap between the spiritual and the practical,
So it's not about escaping from the world.
but transforming our experience of the world.
Bringing that awareness of consciousness into everything we do.
And that leads us to the final part of our deep dive.
And we're back, wrapping up our deep dive into the great illusion.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has so much to unpack.
So many profound ideas from Grandmaster WaXhira.
Yeah, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
The biggest one, you are not your thoughts or emotions.
or even our physical bodies.
Exactly. You are the consciousness that experiences it all.
That's a game changer right there.
It is. It frees you from limitations and helps you tap into your true potential.
And once you get that, everything shifts.
Your perspective on success, happiness, even suffering.
It all takes on a new meaning.
You move from an egocentric view to a soul-centered one.
And from there,
You can appreciate the interconnectedness of life, even the challenges.
challenges become opportunities for growth
Relationships become mirrors for our own evolution,
and death.
a natural transition.
Not something to fear.
Right, all of this leads to a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
So how do we actually apply these insights?
WaXhira talks about the importance of mindfulness.
Taking time to quiet the mind.
Observe our thoughts and emotions without judgment.
Find that inner stillness.
There are many paths to mindfulness.
Like what?
Meditation, yoga, spending time in nature, journaling.
Even just taking a few deep breaths can help.
Exactly. Find what works for you and make it a habit.
It's about creating space for that connection to awareness.
And as you cultivate that connection,
What happens?
you start to see the world differently.
You find the magic in the everyday.
The extraordinary in the mundane.
And you live with a sense of purpose and gratitude.
Knowing that you're part of something bigger.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is. And WaXhira leaves us with a final thought.
I'm ready for it. Hit me.
If our senses and thoughts create an illusion,
Could we have more power to shape our reality than we realize?
that's the question he poses.
That's a powerful idea.
It suggests we're not just passive observers.
We're active participants, co-creators.
Imagine the possibilities.
If we can choose to focus on love instead of fear,
On abundance instead of scarcity,
on connection instead of separation,
we can literally change our world by changing our minds.
that's a message of hope and empowerment.
It is.
So, to all our listeners out there,
Keep exploring.
dive deep into the nature of your own reality.
Discover what resonates with you.
The truth you seek is within you.
Always.
Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey.
Until next time.
Keep seeking, keep questioning, keep exploring.